Welcome to the HPTV Podcast, episode 20. I think that's the first time I've ever remembered that. We're your hosts. I'm Mitchell, here with my siblings, Steven, and hi, it's the problem. It's her. It's Jamie.
Time. It's me.
I thought you were doing a Taylor Swift thing.
Whoops. Well, it goes with both. Not that I call myself a Swiftie, but it works. I was at a retreat over the weekend with a bunch of moms for caregiver retreat.
I thought you were going to say Swifties.
I was at a Swiftie retreat this weekend. Oh my gosh.
They do need a retreat. Their lives are very difficult, so they need to go and, retreat.
A few of them know from my old podcast, and they're like, oh, I saw you on that Harry Potter podcast, and I just found out that's your brothers. I think it's so cute.
Jamie, you got to recruit all those moms as listeners.
I know. I should have been like, oh, will you just follow us?
I will go to that retreat and do a live podcast in front of all the moms.
I'll ask people around it, be like, do you want a live Harry Potter podcast at this caregiver retreat?
All caregivers need a little bit of Potter or pot or both. Well, so Jamie had an exciting, you got to think though, it's a caregiver retreat. And a lot of those caregivers, that might be one of their only weekends to let loose. Because, even on family vacation, you're only getting so loose.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
Today we're going to talk about the first, I think, piece of news we've had. It's not even the first illegitimate piece of news since casting. But it seems to be completely factual. And then we're going to toss to a conversation we had last week that went on too long because or at least me, I'm more of a theme park person than I'd like to admit. And so Steven gave me a beautiful rundown of his trip to Epic Universe. He's not going to sell you on it, but it didn't deter me. But we will let you know when we're swapping over to that. But first, there are some images that we'll put up here of leaked aerial shots of the half-built set of Privet Drive outside of Leavesden Studios here, kind of just by Watford. If you know your London, it's near the Harry Potter Studios where they have the tour. A lot of people are wondering if they're going to build this with the idea that it should be semi-permanent so that they can expand the tour at some point. We'll see, but it looks different from the other. It still looks very much like a British suburban street where all the houses are the same. I would say it actually looks slightly more upscale, which kind of gives you the idea that the Dursleys really value, looking a bit posh, looking a bit important. And if you're completely avoiding spoilers, sorry, no, we'll, there's not much we can do to spoil what it looks like to show you a suburban street. But what did you guys think when you saw these pictures?
I'm glad to see it's a little different. I'm glad to see that they're building practical locations. If you know filmmaking at all, maintaining a neighborhood and making sure it looks the same for the next 10 years might not be so possible. So I'm glad they're built. I mean, there's a good 4 houses there on the block, and then there's some sort of structures across the street. So that's good. So it tells me that it's not gonna be all screens or completely CGI'd. I mean, obviously around it will be, but that gives me hope.
In the films, I think they did do the exteriors at a house
for the
first movie, and then they built them, and it makes sense. Someone was saying, they might be expanding this; it could be even bigger. And there's another set. It looks like off to the side, and gotta think in the long run, Miss Fig could live around the corner. They could have Harry going to a playground near this. We could have Dudley and his friends. It's cool. So it makes sense that they could build it out a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of hard to see much more. There's some more woodwork involved. I don't know. But what did you see in these very tough to see anything photos, Steve?
I mean, it's just, it's cool that it's coming together. They're actually building stuff out and they're doing it in a relatively permanent fashion. Cause this is a long-term project. Yeah. There's not a lot you can kind of glean from what you see, right? And how they're going to handle it and everything. But it's just cool knowing that it's moving along. I'm still a little bummed that the, premiere has been pushed to 2026 and everything, but they're moving along. They're making it happen. It's gonna be it's gonna be 2030 by the time this crap comes out. So and I wonder too, because I was thinking one of the articles I was reading about this was first images of the set and stuff, but still no news about the main 3. And part of me is if they keep pushing the production schedule, then they're going to have to wait to cast the 3, or they're going to have to cast 9-year-olds so that they can actually be the right age when it starts filming forever from now. So, but it's good to know that it is also kind of in that same area, right? So it would be cool to be part of the studio tour in the future and things. And Privet Drive is a set that's also not used that much. Like, I know that it's, it's featured at the beginning of every year and stuff, but that was when I was thinking like the studio tour might actually include it, when they're not filming there, because the bulk of the year, though, they won't be. So there's some cool possibilities.
Yeah, I think if they were to include any of this during the run, I think that would be a huge moneymaker. I think you could, really advertise that as a perk. It's a reason for people to go back. Every year they try and add a small set, or they have these events because you need repeat customers to it, because in the end it is just a studio tour. So that would be cool. I don't know if I see it, but it depends as we go along. After book 2, why not, or season 2, why not have people tour the Chamber of Secrets until it's ready? I will say we've been kind of looking at the pictures, but there's a video on the Reddit. It's the top 2 posts on the Reddit right now are leaks of these, and one is a nice aerial video that it looks like there's more construction done in that than the pictures that we've been seeing. Yeah, it's just a neighborhood.
Do we know if these are like really recent, or is this like
they've just started popping up recently? But it's interesting because if they're going to shoot in the summer, I mean, some of Hogwarts has to be somewhere. But they're also saying, and this is, of course, just a headline number, they're saying Warner Brothers is going to spend $1 billion on sets, on new facilities, like permanent facilities. They're saying it's going to be a small metropolis to have new hangars for sets, to have new areas, like even cafes for the cast, a small school for the kids that are going to be working on the series. I mean, which is great. And in the long run, let's say the TV series does flops, it's not like they were not going to use those. London is still, Leavesden's not even the biggest one. There are so many filming facilities in outer London, and as you kick just outside of the M25. So they'll be able to use it, but it will be funny if they build like this mini city and think, oh, there's going to be 10 years of people working on this, and then it doesn't make it 10 years. But we're optimistic that it will.
Well, I don't feel like they're far enough along, unless there's things going on that we aren't seeing.
Yeah, or it's a month old and we just saw it.
Well, and like also, this doesn't necessarily, you don't always film everything in order. Most of the time, you don't film things in order. So don't have to necessarily start with Privet Drive, but I'm interested to see, like where the castle's at, where casting's at, or when they're going to have everything ready to go. Because, and I was kind of just holding out, hoping like, okay, they'll film this summer. And really, even though they're saying 2027, maybe they'll get it out by the end of 2026. But now I'm like, oh no, it's 2027.
I think it's 2027 for sure. Interestingly, Warner Brothers pushed the new Game of Thrones show, Duncan A, from late 2026 to early 2020. Late 2025 to early 2026, even though I believe that is nearly in the can. Like they're on the real back end of post on that. I think it just shows they need a marquee show to put in 2026. But that also means that in 2027, we're likely to get a Last of Us season, a Fire and Blood season. Is that the name of that show? House of the Dragon. That's it. Which I am watching, and a Harry Potter show, which would be massive for Warner Brothers. Then they're kind of like pinning everything on that year. But like you said, it is cool just to get a glimpse of something, of some work being done. Like this and 6 casting announcements are all that we have really to show that the show is real. And maybe that's so we've been saying from the beginning they're going to film this summer. I think that's going to maybe push back a little bit. I do think those kids must be near cast, if not cast, and they'll announce it when they are let out for the summer holidays, which is late July. And
so far away.
I know. Don't tell my wife.
Our summer starts next week, or no, this week.
Yeah, that's
our last week of school.
Crazy.
My kids have one more week. They have next week.
Like the time they have to film, especially exterior things, it's not, I guess cloud cover isn't the worst thing.
It's realistic. There should be cloud cover. That's where
it's good though, but it also helps with the sun, all that stuff.
It's actually been quite a sunny year, I will.
But I do have
credit.
It is kind of nice to see that they're thinking of the long run. Because, practically, even if I was producing this, I'd be like, okay, let's work on season 1 and see where we go. Because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket and invest in something that's not going to work out. But it gives me hope that they're taking their time, that they're building things for the next 10 years. But in other ways, I'm like, move along. Let's get this stuff done. So the thing
that I get, part of it gives me hope and part of it really worries me, is that I think that they got lots of money. They probably got some very good, people out there crunching numbers. But I think they know that they have a certain guaranteed audience, right, of a certain number of people who are definitely going to watch this, right? and then they're going to try and pull in other people. So I'm curious what their thought, like what they're thinking is like that guaranteed number that they're really counting on, because like first I believe it could be a really large group. I think there's a lot of, nerds like us who grew up with this, and then there's, our kids and stuff, and they're not going to even have a choice. They're going to have to watch it with us. But what else? Like, first of all, who else can you pull in, and how can you pull in other people without pissing off that core audience? Because that's my worry, is they do anything like they're not as faithful to the books as they promised, or they go a little too Prisoner of Azkaban with some stuff that just feels weird and it doesn't fit. Then they could actually get like not even just people not watching it, but actively like campaigning against it, and then it could get shut down pretty early. So I think that's what this tells me. This tells me like they're building some really permanent stuff, and I love that there is literally like concrete things happening that are that it's moving along. Right, you've got
They're not
yourself
going
a
to just
cast.
throw it out.
Yeah, it's there, but I really worry that like that's not like I don't think that the audience is as guaranteed as maybe they think it is. I hope
Well,
they're taking
this
into
is
account.
HBO.
It
There's
depends.
there's a Batgirl sitting out there somewhere.
It depends
so
what
don't
they
really care.
consider. Well, and they sold Coyote and Acme, which I will go see. Or
Well, they
whatever.
did. It's out good.
Yeah, they finally did sell it. So they were going to shelve that, but they didn't shelve it they weren't able to do the same tax write-off that they were with Batgirl. But it's interesting because they're also switching the name back from Max to HBO Max.
Yeah.
I actually think it should have stayed Max because HBO is something within it, and HBO shouldn't represent all this stuff. But they just found that they weren't getting enough viewership from the HGTV stuff, even though I did my part. I was watching Beach Hunters and House Hunters International, Dr. Pimple Popper.
Are they actually taking the Discover stuff off of there, though?
No. That's the thing. It's going to be called HBO Max, and the idea is still your home.
Brand.
But the CEO, essentially, not the CEO, sorry, the head of programming went on The Town, which is a really good podcast. It's twice a week. That's a half hour if you're a Hollywood nerd. And he essentially said, we can't compete with Netflix, so we're going to try and carve out our corner and have our premium HBO content. We're still going to be a hub for people to come for Friends and for Dr. Pimple Popper, which is the one show people always point out for it. But he was essentially like, we've given up on trying to be everything to everyone. Like, they think Disney is still trying to grab their adult space while having a great kid space. They're like Netflix. They almost pretty much said Netflix won as far as everyone's going to keep Netflix. It's what streaming do they keep on top of Netflix? I think there is a built-in audience. Just is it large enough? Because we know that they will fudge streaming numbers any way they can to make it seem like they're doing good. But in the end, like when it comes to market share of minutes watched, like it's YouTube, then it's Netflix, and then it's everybody else. And a lot of people thought Peacock and Paramount Plus or HBO Max, like two of those three would merge, but that's seeming unlikely because there's a lot of litigation with Paramount. Anyway, getting too in the weeds, this show is going to be, it's going to be quite important, and they are putting the money in. There are concrete things being built, even out of concrete.
Watch this as just a housing development.
And they're like, psych.
Actually,
nothing to do with Harry Potter. These are just some random drones footage of a building.
I will plug the Twitter account that has been posting these. I will warn you, I thought I didn't really care, but I'm on their site now, and they have set photos from House of Dragon season 3 and from Marvel the Doomsday Avengers. I'm like, oh, I don't think I want to follow that account and maybe see things I don't want to see, but I really like watching the aerial shots of Epic Universe being built. So I was like, what if we really saw like Hogwarts is going to be built before our eyes, which never would have been imaginable in 2001 when they did the original Sorcerer's Stone. That is kind of weird to consider.
Well, and the thing is too, and obviously if people listen to our podcast, we're going to have to talk about some of those spoiler stuff because that's the information we're going to get. And if we don't talk about other people, but it's going to look so different on camera as well. It's just so, it's how much of the magic you want ruined for you. I think we all pay attention to the background of things so much that like for us, like we're able to compartmentalize that. Maybe for other people, they won't love that. But I just think there's going to be leaks no matter what with all this. It's too popular. There's going to be a million hands involved, like literally, like all the people working on this. It's just going to happen.
I'm looking at some of the footage or the video.
I don't see the video. I love how like the first comment I saw on, I think Reddit, one of the people was like, yep, looks like a British neighborhood. Like it's not like the most exciting thing to leak, but but I think I just think it says something that even Privet Jive, which we should see in every season, and some seasons he's there a little bit longer than not, all that jazz. I do think it's cool that they are building that. That's a good sign that bigger things will also be practically built.
Yeah, I mean, that means we're getting a freaking Hogwarts, you guys. That's what they're filming all the time. Oh, we just lost Mitch.
Okay, let's just do this podcast without Mitchell. Just kidding.
It just got good. What else? Oh, we were talking about just like leaks and stuff. Like, it's so hard because part of me, I just want every little nugget of information that I can find. But at the same time, like, will it ruin it for me?
Well, my
I don't know,
memory's
like,
so
what-
bad now. If I see it now, I'll forget by 2027 for sure. So that's
It's
the part
true.
of being old.
It's true.
But I think
But
if
I
we were doing
also-
this podcast, I would probably try to avoid it a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we know the story. Like, we know what happens. And even if you can get, like, some set photos, like, there's always, like, a green screen in the background. Like, there's always these, chunks of things that aren't actually done or, and so it's not going to look as good as the finished product anyway. So I'm kind of tempted to just look at everything. And then, the
From
final,
there.
project must actually impress enough, but yeah, it's not like we're going to spoil the story. Like, we all know how it goes,
We know
what I mean?
Maybe, but like for our kids, we're not going to show our kids, and that's like,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
like my kids aren't going to know all this stuff's going to happen, and so then they'll enjoy
Yeah.
it because they're children and we're not.
It's never going to look as cool as it does in the final product when it actually comes out, because there's chunks of green screen over here and there's things missing. Then you got a tennis ball that's going to be a CGI dragon later and all that kind of crap. And so I think I might just watch it all and then or check it all out, and then when the real thing comes out, there just has to be a big enough improvement on what I already saw, I guess,
Well,
to hook me.
There's only so many things that can leak. Like, okay, if we see an exterior of a big Hogwarts, which is not even guaranteed, they could do it digitally. They could do a model and then film the interiors and do only certain bits. Like on that account on what I still call Twitter and will not call X it's called Unbox PhD. Like here's another picture from Harry Potter and like it could be a tower and it's like 30 feet tall. I'm like, what? That can't be like a castle towers. It's just a piece of scaffolding that may or may not turn into a turret of something. Like, yeah, with green screens and blue screens and things, and they can only do certain exteriors. I'm sure they're going to be really careful about what can be filmed, and they're going to be more strict about drones and everything. I'm not too worried about those leaks harming. Ooh, I'm so excited to see what this new set looks like,
How good are you with a BB gun, Mitchell? Maybe you can get a job just sitting on that roof and shooting down any drones that come near you. There.
Honestly,
that would be fun.
I would. I know I need to start seeing if they're hiring for PAs or something. I'm sure it'd be great. I'll go get paid
Your
10
wife
pounds
would
an
really
hour,
appreciate-
working 14-hour
Yeah.
days, getting coffee.
If only
No.
this had happened 10 years ago.
I'll just keep
I know.
podcasting about it until they invite me to the writer's room. Talking to you, Francesca.
Let us in.
I do think it's interesting. Like, I think that the studio tour and stuff has proven that there is a future revenue stream for building out like this, like permanent neighborhoods. And I think there's a good chance they build an actual Hogwarts, because imagine how much you could charge people to come through there, or put some hotel rooms up in the dormitories or something. You get those millionaires to come pay an absurd amount to sleep in the Gryffindor common room or Gryffindor dormitory or something. You know what I mean? So
I don't know
hopefully
why.
that means we get some cool permanent
If it's
stuff.
the same size as like a hotel, why would you not build a castle that is just going to make people's dreams come true? You could put
Mitchell could live there with his baby and his wife.
I really
Little
want
How
Harry,
far is that
you
from the
know?
new Universal? Could you drive
It's
over
probably
there to work?
It depends on, I don't know where the big train stations are by the studio tour, but it wouldn't be that far. That's North London, and they say from central London to this hub, which is right. So if you have London, then you have the theme park, and then up here's Birmingham, another big city. It can't be that far. I'm sure someone's done the math, but I'm really curious if that's why they haven't put Harry Potter IP in that park, if that is actually
I think
deal.
I read somewhere that there is some sort of licensing issues with the studio being there and the theme park.
I just don't think it would hurt the
licensing.
studio to have a theme park all up there as well, especially because they're going to have all this new stuff to put into their long-term project.
That's how Universal Studios started, though, wasn't it? It was a studio tour, and then they started adding
That's in
rides.
Hollywood.
And
It's the
just
longest
get a couple
ride
of
there
roller
in Hollywood.
coasters, some dark rides, a simulator 5, and just put them right there. And
I don't
Let's
love
go.
Universal Studios Hollywood overall, but the actual studio tour where they tour you around real sets and there's a couple little ride moments stuff, it is actually really cool. Even
I
if
want
you're
to
a
do
nerd
it.
or
So
not.
one ride I didn't do.
Oh, what?
because it's an
Jamie.
hour long, and my son has autism. He wouldn't be able to do it yet. Maybe someday, but there's no
That's the time when you say Isaac?
well, all right, I'll be gone for an hour long wait, and then the hour long ride. See you guys.
You deserve it. Anyway, it is a really cool experience. And they tried to do that in Orlando. Like, they did try and have active stages, as did Disney. That was the route of MGM Studios, which is now Hollywood Studios. And it was a little bit for a while like Orlando was really trying to become like another showbiz town and just never flourished. It just became a showbiz thing. But it is actually the one cool thing. Not the one cool thing. It's fine. But Universal Studios Hollywood, the fact that it is an active lot, that's cool. Like, I saw when I was there, they had the Good Place set up, and I was like, oh, like seeing, the ice cream shop that changes names all the time. I thought that was really cool to see. And they do like a flood scene, and they instantly flood this set, and movie magic is magical. Who would have thought?
And Harry Potter magic
is also magical. We used to have debates, Harry Potter magic versus Disney magic, and I won the debate.
I was like, I've never had that.
No. Movie magic. It's all movie magic, I suppose.
I mean, it is.
And book magic. Read a book, kids.
Well, on the we've been talking about the theme park stuff a lot. I was going to tell you the Battle of the Ministry. Apparently, that ride at Epic Universe, they have given up on the virtual line. I guess they're having so many problems with the app and stuff that it's just a standby line now. And last I saw, the wait was like 300 minutes. I think that's just where their like timer and app maxes out, because there was like 300 minutes from this point, and then there was a long line going out of that part of the park over like to the central hub and stuff.
I saw today
people be crying.
A TikTok someone put up today at the park, and the person's standing there and they're like, we don't have a wait number, but it's a long time. Start here. And it's like literally outside
people
the portal.
Essentially paying $200 to go on one ride.
One ride.
Like that day when it was $300 initially, it did go down to like $110 for part of the evening. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't think anything. I've waited 3 hours for a ride, and I don't think I'll ever wait longer again.
Well, and I don't think, I'm really curious about the capacity. Like, is it running near full capacity yet? Because opening is really close. It's,
they said
Thursday.
When it was running smoothly, I think they still said it was maybe at a third of the capacity, but that might also be their issue, that they cannot technically get it running fast enough to go what they plan for. How many different you sit in an elevators,
they have working on it overnight for the rest of eternity.
I can't. Mitchell, one time we waited for Avatar for a long time. How long is that? I still think that was only an hour and a half. Or was that longer?
I've waited 3 hours for Avatar.
But I remember we did at the end of the night, remember? So there was, you had no other option, like, as long as you got in line before the park closed. Yeah. So, like, we just did that in the night.
That's...
that, but then...
That's the trick.
Just wasting the rest of your day to just stand in... Or one person stand in line and then you go get... It's like Black Friday, the old days.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the original park opened, Mitchell and I, though, we took turns. Like, I'd stand in line while he'd go off and get his butterbeer and, like, explore, and then he'd come back and I'd go, we'd swap out. And so hopefully people are, like, smart enough to do that. Or maybe, I don't know if they're letting people do that. Maybe they're not letting people come in.
Well, it's like, remember, with Hagrid's, you can't really do that. Yeah. Because the line's so secluded, and, like, once you're in there, you're in there. So, I mean, you would know best, Steven, how the line is.
At a certain point, there's a point of no return, but a lot of the line, what I saw, was just like through the middle of the land, and so at least those first couple hours you have the option of swapping
those people were not even in the queue yet, so you had a while.
Exactly. So I don't know if that's part of the 300 minutes or not. That's wild.
A lot of people complain that Disney kept Cosmic Rewind, which is a roller coaster in Epcot themed to Guardians of the Galaxy, on for 3 years. They kept it on virtual queue, and some people hate the virtual queue, and they're like, you know what, just put it up and people have to deal with it however they choose to deal with it, whether you rope drop it or you go at close. But I don't know, it's a no-win
I just think there should be an option for either or. Stay tuned for Steven's adventure at Epic. We can cut into that from here. But, like, then you completely miss out if you don't, like, my son was obsessed with the new Tiana ride. You know how, like, Splash Mountain became Tiana's. And, like, we had to make reservations. We did not get that morning reservation. And I was like, we basically came here for this damn ride. And luckily we got the afternoon reservation. But I was like, our whole trip is ruined if we can't go on this ride. Am I willing to wait 3 hours in this line so that he can jump in at some point and get on? I would totally have done that just for my son. He's very, like, focused on certain things and like he has little joys in life. But like I had no option to do that if I did not get that dang virtual queue. So I just wish there was like okay, if you want to wait, you wait, but there's like mainly the virtual queue or something like that.
It's funny because
Did they have the lightning lane option then or no?
No, and not even the disability pass. Well, we could have technically probably like done it, but it wasn't even an option for us.
Like the first time I went to Disney after Rise of the Resistance opened, I did not get the virtual queue. And so the second time I went, when it was still really tricky, I was like, you know what, if I don't get it, no, I think this was Guardians or I don't remember, like, but I know I didn't go on Resistance the first time I went. The next time I went, they had I think it was $27 for the whatever. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to pay it because that's kind of like why I was there, but I didn't want to waste half a day on it. And I wasn't even paying full price.
No, I don't like to like promote that. I hate going to a theme park, paying full price because it's not like the old Disneyland days where you only pay a little bit to get in and then you pay per ride. You're paying like way more just to ride rides, like almost double to be able to ride, which is ridiculous to me. But there's some things I just pay for to do.
Well, last time I was at the park, because I'm the same way. Like I refuse to pay for lightning lanes. I want to encourage Disney to keep finding ways to price gouge people, because that's what they've come up with. But like there was this family that we met last time I was in the parks, and they were here from Australia. And they were like, yeah, we're paying the lightning lane for like, I'm doing everything and I'm not coming back. I flew halfway around the world, quite literally, to be here. And it's like, so we're going on the shiz. It's going to cost me $30 a ride. Then it's, once in a lifetime. So we're going to do it. So I can understand that to a degree if that's the one thing. So that sucks about Tiana's though. That wasn't even an option for you guys.
Because it was like when it was pretty new and we went to Disneyland and Disney World that same year. So we saw it being built at Disneyland, but we could go at Disney World. But for us also, we have a family member that works for Disney. So we get in. So us paying for the lightning lane is like just paying to go to the park. But for Disney, there was just like this huge kind of news thing about a dad. I mean, all these theme parks who was like, this is how much it costs for one day for my family. Like it is ridiculous. It's really cool to see, but it's not possible for everyone. And then on top of that, be like, you can't ride this brand new ride probably for the next 3 to 4 years because you either have to pay extra and don't even get me started on Universal's freaking pass. So expensive.
Yeah, hundreds. It's
more than the park ticket.
Well, that's why like if you stay at their premium hotels, it comes as part of it. I'm like, that's totally worth it. But
that's a deal.
It is a mess. It is a pro and a con type of vacation because I always say, and it depends on your priorities because you could do 5 days at Disney for the price you could do 10 days in Europe if you're an American sometimes. And a lot of Europeans go to a Disney World and they pay a lot, but they do these 14-day packages that end up actually being somewhat reasonable because you're essentially packing it in and we just get way more vacation time over here. So it makes some more sense and you can spread out the things that you're doing. But yeah, it's hard to be there because like my wife has always said she's been to Disney twice now and she never wasn't sure she'd ever go to Florida, until she met this weird American boy. And then she was just like, oh, I do want to do all the things. And she wants to see all my favorite things. But she's also like, I haven't gotten to just hang out. Like we talk about just enjoying the atmosphere, the theming, the food, the shops. But when you're paying that much money, there is this pull that's like, well, I got to do a lot of the cool stuff. So.
Well, that's always my advice to people. I'm like, people who live around me, like, like our sister, like Steven, you guys live in Florida. People just jump in and out all the time. But here I'm like, okay, if you're going to go once in 10 years, save up your money. Literally, the more tickets you buy, the cheaper it becomes per a day. I'm like, do like a whole week and then go half a day here. And then you could go the next, like, so do a day where you just kind of meander. Do a day where you ride as many rides as you can. Like,
if you're going once at a time, if something's down or like, if your kid has a meltdown and you couldn't go on certain things, you get a chance to go back and try again and stuff.
But for us who like go like often and stuff, it's like, no, we want to see what's new.
We want to see the new cool thing. I think, if you tell someone like it's better to go once in 10 years and do it really well than to go 3 times in 10 years and be squeezing everything into a day or two. And now the big thing everyone is saying is, oh, it lifts all boats when there's something new and exciting. Like people are going to go and spend their money regardless. But the idea is if people say have 5 or 6 park days while they're there, is Universal now getting more of that share of how many total days people are going to spend in theme parks while they're in Florida with Epic Universe. And obviously Harry Potter has dramatically increased their standing in the world of theme parks.
Well, and then I'm saying this now before Disney opens all their new stuff, which is going to be really cool too when that eventually comes. But me and my husband were talking, like, if we were to go down this year, like the age our kids are at and like what they like to do, we would probably just go to Universal. And like that changes, but Universal has so much more to offer now. And my kids like rides.
Yeah.
And like
Well,
we like
especially
Disney
kid-friendly
rides, but
stuff.
yes.
Because Universal did not have a lot for kids before, and now just with How to Train Your Dragon and Nintendo, like those are huge ads that like kids are gonna love. But like when I go to Islands of Adventure or like Universal Studios, there's a Seuss Landing for the kids, and then like my kids like Harry Potter, but not every kid like gets that. It's not
Didn't
like super kid
yeah.
friendly, you know, like 8 and under. It's just not there.
There's like some Minions, some Shrek. If kids are, didn't they add a DreamWorks thing as well?
Yes, there's a
recently?
new DreamWorks thing, which is fun, and they have like interactive shows and stuff, which are fun. So like last time I went and did Gringotts by myself. So they went and did that, which was fun. They got to do like Poe teaching them how to do like moves and stuff, which is cool. Like I love that interactive stuff. So that's a little more balanced out. But I get like definitely if you have little kids, Disney is better. Like my kids had so much fun. We spent one day with Steven's youngest, Lucy, who is like 2 at the time. Like they had so much fun with her at Magic Kingdom. And of course, we love Disney and we want to do Disney, but we have done Disney a lot. And now that Universal just has more to offer.
Well, like once
and better food.
Disney has new stuff, like then you'll be enticed to.
Then I'll be like, oh, we're only going to do Disney.
Villains Land. We're gonna go see Villains Land. Anyway,
I'm excited for Villains Land.
It's getting crazy though, because we're going a little too deep on. We're getting into our theme park conversations.
Yeah, we got
like when they add Villains Land and Cars Land to Magic Kingdom is going to be like a 2 to 3 day park. Like it's going to be nuts.
They're going to need to put a hotel in the middle of the park.
Think about the pure number of attractions there. Like when you look at it, that compared to Epic Universe, there's not much. That's why they talk about these fillers and the way Magic Kingdom has grown over the years. Now the real question is, when are you guys going to start saving so we can all go to Disneyland in Abu Dhabi?
Oh my gosh.
Well, like,
I thought you just met together as a family, but then you threw in Abu Dhabi.
I do want to go. I want to go to Tokyo as a family.
Mitchell, you always told us you were going to be the richest and most successful, and you were going to take us all one day.
But then you did make this promise many times. Like you have failed.
I had to make a choice. It was like that moment in a film where I could be rich and evil or poor and good, and I chose good. Would you guys rather have the money or the saint for the brother? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
It's a hard decision. I mean, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start selling my soul because I want to go visit all the cool parks in Asia. They all apparently have really cool Kung Fu Panda stuff, So
I really want to go to is it Disneyland Sea? Whatever the Tokyo
Disney
one's
Sea,
called?
yeah.
Disney Sea.
It's supposed to be the best one by
Tokyo
far.
Disneyland and Disney Sea. Yeah. It's supposed
all
to
right. Well, we've gone so far on theme parks and leaks and things, but we're going to keep going. So Steven, we're going to switch over now to this was fresh on his mind, his experience at Epic Universe. So we'll toss to that now and then we'll come back and say goodbye. We need to hear from Steven because you went to Epic Universe, and I've been, of course, watching many bloggers and people go, and there's good days and their bad days. It is a technical rehearsal, but there's more than rides. So I'm just curious. Give us your overall impressions.
It was, first of all, it was really cool. Like the theming is awesome. Like I don't know if everyone knows how it works, but we call it rope drop, right? Where you get to the park like as it opens and you kind of hurry to that first thing. And I was mostly just worried about getting on the Battle of the Ministry ride. So I was trying to do the virtual line on the app as it opened, but I'm also like walking around and getting distracted by all the cool scenes and stuff. So I completely flubbed the rope drop because I was trying to get on the virtual line, which didn't actually go live at that moment. It didn't start until later in the day. And I was just so wandering around looking at all the cool stuff. And I was like, crap, I got to get one of these lines because they were all very long. But it was really cool. And I think one of the best things is the portal effects. You go into each land through these portals. And I will say that's not the only way in and out of each land. So some people are really worried about that. There's other ways, but that's like the most obvious one. But the portal effect works really well. When you come through that portal, because it kind of forces you into this like tunnel, it's not very long, but you get that reveal as you come through. And it's awesome. So like going into the How to Train Your Dragon area and Nintendo was really cool. The Dark Universe one it's all like grays and blacks, so it's not as like shocking as you come through, but it does feel very otherworldly. They've got like smoke and stuff, and so it feels cool. Surprisingly, the one that was kind of a bummer was going into the Ministry of Magic area, the Harry Potter area, the one that should be the most magical. And I think it's because they couldn't decide what effect to go with. So you get the reveal coming through the tunnel, and then you're just in this kind of like area that looks like I don't know, like an alleyway or something, because then you go through what's supposed to be, you know, the Flu Metro, or what it's called, and then you come and you get the big reveal as you come into kind of, you know, Paris in the 1920s and their version of Diagon Alley. So it's kind of this two reveals, and the first one's like a complete dud, and then the second one is cool. I wish there was a way they could have just merged them into, you know, you go straight into the area, but I digress there. So, but it was fun. It was really cool just to see everything and to explore, and like that alone could have taken up plenty of time. I kept having to remind myself, like, no, get back in lines, or go grab your butterbeer crepe and all that kind of stuff, because that was also something that was on my to-do list.
I gotta say, for the listeners, you took 466 photos and videos while you were there. You did an excellent job with the multimedia. I looked at the Google album, but I'm curious. I don't remember much of the food. So what did you eat besides the beautiful, I like how we were talking about food before rides or like reveal, because I love the reveal going to Diagon Alley. So I want to ask, like, I like that you broke down the reveals, but I'm also interested in the food. What else did you eat or drink?
I didn't eat too much. I mean, I guess I'm just, it's not cheap to go there, period, but the food is very expensive. Like the crepe was $20 just for the crepe, you know, and that's like a dessert item, right? And it was large-ish, but still. And so, but yeah, no, I that was, I think the first thing I ate was the crepe. And then I had the, what was that juice? It was, the
You put it in
dirigible
the
plum
chat.
juice.
Ah.
Yeah. That's, you know, Luna inspired and everything. And I don't know what dirigible plums are supposed to taste like, but it was good. The other thing that I ate was, well, so a couple of people I know who have gone, they kind of laid it out for me that like the good food is not in the Wizarding World area. And so I kind of like butterbeer crepes and an actual butterbeer. I got a frozen butterbeer, of course, in the new mug. Here, let me actually, this is it right here. So I thought this was really cool looking. This is like the fancy new souvenir mug.
Is it?
And it's
I mean, I know it's
French.
not glass, but it looks like a better plastic than our other plastic ones.
Yeah, it is. Ooh, I don't even have that one, Jamie. Where'd you get that one? That was cool.
Shauna got me this the last time she went down.
Jamie's got all kinds of shit, man. Anyway, so those I want to make sure that I got, but then the rest of the food, to me, it seemed very like French. And that was kind of one of the things, not that I have anything against French food, but there's like baguettes with like different meats and I was just like, okay, that sounds cool, but like we actually have a pretty good French like bakery here in town that like I could go to and get that stuff for half the price. So I didn't really spend my time there. And that kind of does tie into one of the things about this Wizarding World, you know, area of this park that's kind of weird, and that is that when you have like Diagon Alley or you have Hogwarts and Hogsmeade, like these are things that you've seen in the movies, right? And there's a very real like experience to replicate. A lot of the stuff, and that even comes with like the candy itself, right? When you go to the candy stores or like the foods.
Uh-huh.
But in the France one, we don't get a lot of that stuff. Like you get some glimpses of some buildings, right? You get a few of those things, and I think some of that's put in there. But like they have their own candy shop and everything is branded with this candy shop's name. And I'm like, I don't know what this place is. I've never, like, it doesn't mean anything to me, you know? So like, there's not that like pre-existing relationship. And so same thing with like the food is like, there wasn't really any foods mentioned in the movies or the books that they could then recreate, except for like a variation on some butterbeer stuff. So there was a little less motivation to like go try everything. But
Like,
that's all I had food wise.
That's the thing about the Ministry of Magic being this part of their expansion is 1920s Paris that's cool. It looks amazing. It looks like they went taller with those buildings. Like it's not all perspective. Like it does look scale wise, but it's not actually a magical area until you go into the Ministry of Magic, which is in England. And I know that flu effect is pretty cool, but like, yeah, it's very interesting that they, I mean, we know why they did it. This was all planned while Fantastic Beasts was going, and there are a few scenes in that area in Paris, and I'm sure it looks cool. But in the end, like, it's funny that it says Coupe de Quidditch on there because I'm like, well, is this like a wizarding neighborhood of? Otherwise, it just looks Parisian. Which
what's the explanation?
Old and Parisian is cool, but it is it's by its nature not going to have like magic. I know there is like some German also inspired areas of it, and there's like they call it more like a Quidditch bar and stuff, but it does seem to me like it's going to be a cool area, but it's not going to have that same Harry Potter feel, even if it's impressive.
Like it feels like they were trying to like play off the World Showcase at Epcot, kind of, because I mean, France is my favorite place at the world because of all the good pastries at the showcase. But like Steven's right, like I have like stupid Honeydukes things right here, really overpriced candy I bought just to have like the Honeydukes. Like I'm not gonna care to buy overpriced crap candy for some random label I don't even know.
Chocolate Frog is like my wife's indictment against American chocolate. She's like, how dare they?
But we went to the freaking studio tours and it's the same
Yeah,
gross
it's
chocolate.
still bad.
So just
We're
saying, this is
like,
something
oh, the
else I
chocolate
got.
frog's gonna be good. Nope.
The lid has disappeared because my children periodically take this and go play with it or something and bring it
Crap
back.
one.
But so I have the but yeah, so this is the only real difference here is that it's in French. And so like, to me that was like a cool variation, right? And same with
That's
the
cool.
butterbeer, it's in French. And so it's cool to kind of have both and they're almost identical except for it's written, every flavor beans and Birdie Bots on here. And so there's some of that kind of stuff. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff. I can't remember the name of the store to be honest, but a lot of stuff was just branded with the name of the store and like chocolates. And just like, I don't care if those chocolates or not.
I will say, Steve, some of the information you got wasn't good because someone told you that Curse of the Werewolf was like one of the best rides when everyone's been telling me it's quite a weak ride on the scale,
I went back and reread what they told me, and it was my mistake on that. What they told me was that's the one that seems to break down the most. And so it was kind of go do that when it rope drops so that you can get it first. Otherwise, like if you get in line later, you're going to get stuck in line waiting for it to get fixed and that kind of stuff. So get it early before it breaks down was kind of real. But I just assumed that when he said to go to that one first, it was because it was one of the better ones. And that was incorrect after I.
My son's excited about that one, but I think it's like exciting to him because it's like a little bit of a thrill, but it's not too intense. Like he doesn't like going upside down or anything like that. So it's like up his alley, but he's a 10-year-old boy. So
it's pretty small though. It's one of those where like the ride starts here and then it goes over a walkway and then most of the roller coasters like in the middle of the land. So people are walking around it from all directions. So it's just, hopefully that convey, it's just not that big. Like there's
it looks fast. Like, I mean, not fast in speed, but like that it's over quickly.
Yeah, no, it's a very short ride. Yeah. And that's the thing when I look at just like the track in totality, there's not a ton to it. So it's a pretty quick ride. Even though I didn't get to see it running, it was down that day. So last thing I will say just on the French piece and that like I didn't get a lot of like the German and stuff you're talking about, but a lot of the shops were like wizard focused. And so I don't know that there's anything mentioned in the second Fantastic Beasts movie about like a Diagon Alley equivalent in France, but that's very much what they were going for. Because there were Quidditch shops, there was a Mademoiselle Malkin's shop, like a Madame Malkin's, French branch or whatever it was. And so, a lot of that was really tied in there. One thing that was a little weird was because there's storefronts that are actual stores and then there's storefronts that are fake just to kind of because the ride's behind there or whatever. And so there's a couple areas like you go back in this, dead end area really, and it's got like a nice little like, gazebo thing in the middle that's really like cool looking. And there's this bar on one side that had like huge lines, but the other side is just all fake storefronts. And there's like two places you can do like wand, magic and stuff with your wands. But the rest of it, like it's very awkwardly shaped or, distributed. So there's kind of this huge empty space on one side and this bar on the other side. And so there's some places like that where I don't know if there's just stuff that hasn't opened yet or they're going to add like, some kind of kiosk over there or something to fill out the space because it was a technical rehearsal, like you said. So it's very possible that it wasn't completely done. But there were some things there that needed some love still.
It has been said that there's a big expansion pad next to Potter, and there's a question of whether it's going to be Potter or if they find a way somewhere else. I know there's a big spot in Celestial where there's another place where you can tell a new portal can go, but it'll be interesting because right now it's one ride. I mean, Diagon Alley is one ride and no show. This one is at least a ride and a show. It'll be interesting to see if they try and fill that space. There was originally going to be like a VR Quidditch type experience, and I think they got rid of that, and which is probably good because like the Mario Kart VR is already a thing that has gotten ho-hum reviews, and when you compare it to the other Potter rides and what they already have there, I doubt that would be satisfactory because you in the end, spoiler, did not get to ride the Ministry ride. The cues did not work, but it is getting that, and the one you did get a ride in Darkmoor are like people are saying they're really wonderful dark rides. So you don't want to go and do anything below that,
Yeah, exactly. Well, they don't want to have like a second rate experience, and I get that. So like, but the one ride they have is supposed to be the best ride in the whole park. I didn't get to go on it like you said, so I can't really speak to that. But everyone says like it's freaking amazing. So that was a big bummer. the way that they do it is that 11 a.m., 3 p.m., and 6 p.m., that's the moment where you can try and get in the virtual line. And everyone was trying at 11, and then once I got further into the park, I saw there were signs that said they were only doing the 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. So I tried at 3 and at 6, and I did not get either. I went on later and learned some tricks. I guess I can try next time if I go back, but we'll see when that goes. I did hear later on the day, though, when I was waiting in line for some other stuff at guest services, the lady told one of the people in front of me that the capacity, because the ride's not running at full capacity, and they only did those 3 and 6 p.m. sign up times, that really only 20% of the people who were in the park that day could get
Wow.
into the virtual line. So my chances were pretty slim already, it turns out, which is a big bummer. But I mean, that's the caveat, right? As they tell you, hey, it's a preview, it's not actually everything's running. But in the end, yeah. So one of the interesting things I realized is that it's a brand new park. Everything looks really cool. I think it is epic in the sense of how deep they went with everything, but there's just not a ton when it comes down to it. Like when you look at all the rides and shows together, there's 15 things to do, right? And then 2 of those are like a cement splash pad thing for kids to run around and a playground. Then you have the 2 shows, which I didn't get to see either of because those also like shut down early. And then that leaves you with, 11 rides and things to go on. One's a carousel, which is a carousel, so I didn't really prioritize that.
It's supposed to be a
And
really
then-
cool carousel, Steven.
I mean, I saw it and it looked really cool. Just being on it, I don't think would have provided any more, cool of an experience. So I left that one out. And then there's another one that's like a family, like a water ride, but it's like kind of kid friendly, so I didn't prioritize that one either. And then it did start raining around 5:30 p.m. And because of the lightning, a lot of the outdoor stuff shut down. So that wasn't even because of the technical rehearsal or operations issues. It was just lightning. But the problem with that came up because when you look at those other 8 or 9 rides, right, that people actually, adults will want to go on, most of them are outdoors. So you only have Mario Kart, you have Battle at the Ministry, and you have the Monsters Unchained Frankenstein ride are indoors. Everything else is outdoors. So you have all your coasters there's 3 or 4 coasters, and then there's the
There's a rallying
ride.
run, which is like a kid's ride in Dragon.
Exactly, and so, but all those are outdoors, so those all had to shut down when it started. There was lightning nearby, so that I think is a flaw. Also, like there's not enough that like once it starts raining, and here it can rain a lot, especially over the summer, the busiest season of the year. Like you have a 2 or 3 hour chunk in the afternoon where there's rain and lightning and all that, and so like the majority of their stuff would have to shut down, which I thought was pretty crazy that they didn't plan that more carefully. But in the end, what I ended up going on was I went on the Donkey Kong coaster, which was cool. Like there's, I don't know if you've read about it, but there's like a actual track, and then there's like a track that looks like you're on, which has brakes in it and everything, right? And you're jumping over these brakes, and it's very cool. It's that was the only one I was on that like broke down though, so we got stuck out in the middle for a while. And it's kind of jerky but that's kind of how it's intended to be. It's meant to feel almost kind of like a wooden coaster, how it jerks you around, but it's a steel coaster, everything. And then I went on Yoshi after that because the line was very short. Yoshi is very much like a kid ride. You ride around, you see a little bit of the land. Nothing super
It's like the
exciting.
people mover, but I saw that it has a height requirement. I was like, oh, I can't even take my baby on it.
I hadn't looked at that. I didn't realize there was a higher because you're sitting in these cars that are very much like the people mover or something. That's interesting. I didn't look that closely. And then the other thing that had a longer wait that I did go on though eventually was the Mario Kart ride, which is cool. I think Jamie and I discussed this a little bit because she's been on it out in California. It's a really cool concept, but it is very different. Like the part you're seeing in the visor, right, the augmented reality piece, is very like flat 2D and digital looking, and then you have all these real sets around you. And so it takes a little bit to get used to the game. Like you have a steering wheel, but the steering wheel isn't for steering or aiming. It's just the buttons to shoot. And so where you look with your head is where it shoots the shells. And so you're trying to knock stuff off, and it's kind of counterintuitive. But the weirdest part was just that you're interacting with this game like right in front of your face, and so you don't see a lot of the scenery. Like I kept having to stop myself and be like, I don't actually care if I win this game because I guess I just have that instinct that I have to try and get a high score. But like I need to look around, actually see all. So it was hard to kind of reconcile those two things. Like one would distract from the other, and maybe other people are just better multitaskers than I am. But that was the only downside to that.
No, it's been universally people be like, it's kind of cool, but it's they tried something that didn't quite come together when it's one of the most, historic video games of all time. But, I'll try it.
Which
but
is
I don't think I'll wait
interesting,
2 hours for it.
Right. They tried it. It didn't quite come together, and then they replicated it in
3
parts.
times.
So it's
Well,
kind
that's
of
my
like,
thing.
wait a second.
I thought they would change it a bit because, I wrote it in Hollywood. And I will say, like, by the end of the evening, I didn't, but my son and my husband were able to get on it like a couple times. Well, of course, in the morning we waited forever to go on it. But it was like, I don't know, you can like see all the tracks and everything, which I don't love. I do think it's great for kids. So that's what I tell people. I'm like, I think it's a fun ride for kids, but it's like once you figure out what you're doing, the ride's over. So like if you only get to ride it one time, then you don't really get to like fully interact with it. And of course, like they're explaining it to you while you're waiting in the queue and everything. But still, even then it's like you want to look around and see what's going on, but you're supposed to be tilting your head this way and this way to do it. So I was just surprised they didn't like, I mean, and maybe it is a little different, obviously, but like I was surprised they didn't like up it a little bit. Like, I don't know, I want to ride where you're just on Rainbow Road the whole time. Give me that.
Right? It would be cool. Like even if it were just something like a simulator or something less of a dark ride experience. But I will say on that one though, the line was really cool. Like I swear, I feel like maybe
the line's cool.
50 of the pictures that I uploaded, maybe more, were just of that queue, because you go through like the castle and you're in Bowser's library, and this really cool section where you have all the trophies from the video game, right, for each of the different cups. And that is something else that was really well done, I feel like, because the other ride that I'll talk about is the Monsters Unchained one in Dark Universe. And they do this in a lot of the rides, though, which is where you have like the line and give the time. And so I don't know exactly how they line up the time. I think the time must be from when you get in line to when you're supposed to get on the ride. But most of them now, they have this, which Disney has in a few rides, which is there's like a pre-ride show of some sort, right? So you're getting escorted into this room, and then they do it in groups. So then you get a show here, and then you go to the next thing, and there's a little bit more line. And so even though it's like, hey, this is a 45-minute wait, you're really only in line for 25 minutes, and those last 20 minutes are broken up by like, hey, come see this thing and learn about, like, in Frankenstein, it's like the experiments they're doing, and there's all this information you can read and screens you can watch. And then you go in and they actually have animatronics that like explain what's going on and stuff. And said similar stuff like that for Yoshi and for Mario Kart too. Because like Jamie was saying, Mario Kart, they're like explaining to you, here's how the ride works, and here's how you aim, and how do you put on the visor, and all that kind of stuff. So it breaks it up nicely. It makes the wait feel a lot shorter, to the point where I was trying to time, I always try to time the wait and see if it's actually what they say it's going to be. And I didn't know when to stop the stopwatch, because I was like, is this the ride or not? And that's good. I mean, it just makes it feel like more worth, waiting around and everything.
Yeah.
So that last ride, I think, is by far the best one that I went on. And I have heard a lot of people say that it's, one of the better rides, period. And it's the Frankenstein. It's Monsters Unchained. And I didn't go in. I didn't understand too much, I guess. But it's really like Frankenstein's great-granddaughter, Victoria Frankenstein. She's doing all these new experiments. And the idea is that she's kind of gathered these other monsters over time and kind of locked them all in these catacombs that she has access to. And the last big one is Dracula. So Frankenstein's monster is actually like helping her with a lot of this. And over the course of the ride, like the monsters are trying to break out, and Dracula is kind of the ringleader. But it's really cool. The ride vehicle is like Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, where you have on this big arm, and like you're sitting in the 4 seats just like in Forbidden Journey. And a lot of the ride is kind of like above you and in front of you. And there's this mixture mostly of dark ride elements. There's not as much like simulators as you would have in the Harry Potter one, where you kind of get into those half globes. A lot of it more is like, here's some like scenery, and then behind that is a screen. And I thought it was good. The story was not completely coherent, but it was pretty cool, and it was scary but not too scary. It was a little campy, kind of like old monster movies and stuff, or just a little over the top, a little bit too much cackling and stuff to take it seriously. But there were definitely some jump scares and stuff that would make my kids lose their crap, so I wouldn't take them on that ride just yet. But for adults, it was fun, and there were a lot of other kids in line who didn't seem to have a problem with it. So that was the only ride. I went on that one twice, because for some reason when it was raining and all those other rides closed down, that line got really short. It was like 10 minutes or something, 15 minutes when I went on the second time. I would have assumed everyone would have flocked to it because it was one of the few things still open. But no, I don't. Maybe they all just went and ate right then. I don't know. But yeah, it was worth going a second time for sure. Just cruising through the line and stuff. But it was a fun one. So I'd recommend that to anybody who can go. And then some of the bigger coasters, the Stardust Racers was down that day. They were working on it, getting it ready for opening, I guess. Curse of the Werewolf was down. And then when I went over to the How to Train Your Dragon Land, where there's another coaster, a couple of, that boat ride, the water ride, and a couple of other small kid rides, I was in line for the coaster when the lightning came. And so everything shut down at that point, and they opened it again for like 2 minutes, and then lightning hit again. So they shut it down, and then they just left it down for the rest of the night, I guess. So, and that was, again, that whole grouping of rides. So that kind of blew up the rest of the night. I wasn't able to go on those. So that was
Were you there? It sounds like you literally have gotten one of the worst preview days, although they are now pre-announcing like Ministry's closed for a few days because they need to, they got to get the capacity going for that thing. And apparently their app just sucks for it. But yeah, you got a rough day. Did you get to see it in the dark? Because I hear each land like really has a different feel. And it sounds like you can address this along with the darkness. Like we kind of saw this level up of theming immersion with Harry Potter and with Galaxy's Edge, where they're like very IP specific but really well detailed and done, and it sounds like the whole park really came off that way.
Yeah, it did. Well, and I did stay until it was nighttime. Like I was kind of hoping that some of the rides would start back up again, 'cause, like the rain stopped, and it has to be however many minutes after the last lightning strike within however many miles or something, right? So I kept hoping that they would start back up again. And I just took time to explore like the stores and kind of wander around and stuff. But you're right in that the theming is definitely next level. It is much more along the lines of like Galaxy's Edge or what you have in Pandora and things like that. And it works in their favor because it is IP specific. So like Nintendo Land can be, even if you don't have anything specific, you can just make it look Nintendo-y. You know what I mean? Like give it that look, those curves and things. Same thing with How to Train Your Dragon or even Dark Universe. Dark Universe is kind of like, if in doubt, make it look like it had been lit on fire at some point and it was all black and charcoal. You know what I mean? But it works.
Did you get to see the Burning Blade? Tavern Blade Burn?
I did get to see it. It was cool. I actually don't think I got a video of that, you guys, but it was it's not as cool as like the dragon and Diagon Alley and that kind of stuff, but it was still like it's a cool effect, and it does give that restaurant like a lot more like character. It's kind of a reason to go over there and stuff. It has kind of its namesake being the Burning Blades and stuff. But they also had in How to Train Your Dragon area, there's a few different places where there's dragons, like the big bad ones usually from the different movies, and they'll blow usually smoke. Like one's supposed to be the ice dragon, so it actually blows like cold like smoke on people. If you like wait around long enough, it's like every 10 minutes or something that it like roars really loud and blows smoke all over, so people would wait around to see that. So similar kind of like effect but less fire, and not quite as exciting.
Did you It sounds like all you ate was a crepe and butterbeer. Did you eat substantial food in any of the other lands?
I did go later to in How to Train Your Dragon. They have these, I don't know what they call them, like cones where the mac and cheese with the
Sounds so
one
good.
it's called the PBJ, but it's pork, bacon, and jam. But it's like filled with mac and cheese, and then this like pulled pork mixed in with it, and this like savory jam, that was in there with bacon and stuff. And it was really good. But they kind of take like, I thought it was more cone-like, but really it is like half of a baguette, and they like hollow it out and then fill it with this stuff. So it's very handheld and like theme park friendly. Like you can walk around and eat it. You don't need like a fork and knife or any of that kind of stuff. And so it was pretty cool. But that was the one thing I had really heard a lot of good things about. So I went to go try that. And then there were a couple of things that I got here and there, just like little snacks, but nothing that like blew my mind. And that's kind of where I was just like, okay, I'm good. I also like bought a few Harry Potter souvenirs and stuff. Got a birthday present for my daughter. I should have brought that up here so I can show you. But and so
what was
I
your
spent enough
kids'
money.
reaction when they found out you were going?
Oh, they still don't know that I went.
Oh,
Don't
I
tell
didn't know
them.
because
Don't
you got
tell
that
them.
present. Are you going to give it
So
to
I
her and
gave
not
it
tell
to
her where
her.
you? Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah, she got it on Saturday, and she didn't really ask, where it came from. Or like it had the universal bag on it with the Harry Potter on the front and stuff, because they give you a different shopping bag in the Harry
Right.
Potter areas, and they do the rest of the park. And so it had that, and I don't know if she didn't ask, but I was ready to make up something. But if I told them that I went without them, do you have any idea how quickly they would like kill me?
They'd make you
So
take them. Yeah.
yeah, well, and that's because I could afford one person, but to afford 3, 4, 6 of us, not happening. So,
Did it feel weird being so far from the other parks?
not really. I mean, because when you get there, I guess if I had wanted to, if I had park hopped at any point or something like that, I think that gap would feel kind of weird. But when I think about like even at Disney, Animal Kingdom, for example, is so far west. Or anyone who's done that,
Yeah.
like if you ever get on a bus to go from Magic to Animal Kingdom, it's a long ride. It could not be that long. Like it's closer than that to the other Universal
Oh,
parks.
okay.
But like it's got its own parking area, so you just follow the the signs to, the other parks or Epic, and then you kind of park. The parking lot's big, but like there's no tram or anything, so it's all relatively close. You just kind of walk in. If they ever tried to, like, I don't know, add some kind of Hogwarts Express or something like that from one to the other, that would be very difficult because it's so far away. But
and it's going through like real public roads, whereas Disney, you're going through their property, their hotels, or back,
No, that's true. And it is, you're on regular public, but like the city kind of cooperated with them. There's like this whole new roundabout they added and roads where they didn't used to be roads, just so that they can make sure they have a kind of a direct line going back and forth between the existing parks and Epic. So,
do they give you anything since
well.
so much stuff was closed down or anything, or no?
No, well, again, so I'd heard from people before that if, enough stuff was shut down, they had enough operational issues that sometimes they would give you like an express pass to get on another ride faster, or even like another preview ticket, like a rain check to come back another day. The problem being is that what I was able to overhear from other people making the same complaint was that they don't do that when it's because of weather. So while there were some issues in the morning and there are one or two things that were down just because they were in previews and they're trying to get stuff ready, the last 4 hours of the day, that it was open out of the, I don't know, 11 hours total, it was all because of weather and lightning. And they're like, that's not something we can control, and I can't get a ticket every single time that there's, lightning for a few hours. So I kind of understood, but it still also ticked me off.
It also seems like it's going to be a big issue for them, like you said, because the weather in Central
there were a lot
Florida,
of people who were like, people in line, they were actually just mad about the rain. They're like, oh, we got rained out, they should have to give us something. I'm like, I don't think any of the other parks do that. Like, and so, but yeah, I tried to focus on like two of the coasters were down, and then the third was down a good chunk of the day, and then I got stuck on freaking Donkey Kong for a while and all of that. But again, once you hear other people kind of talking to them, and there are things where they can give you something, but others, I would imagine there's probably some kind of formula, I think, where they know like how many minutes this is down and that is down. And I'm guessing there's a threshold they hit where they say, okay, start giving out free crap, you guys. But I don't think we got there that day, unfortunately.
At least you tried and you didn't go full Karen,
I mean,
That's the thing, is one day I'm sure it is nice to not think about trying to make a ride or a show and just walk around and enjoy the theming and the ambiance. So you got to do some of that, but it's hard when it's your first time. You're like, well, you want to experience some of this stuff.
Right. It's kind of like, oh, I came all the way here. I paid a lot of money to get in, and like I'm not able to do, I mean, I maybe did half of the things.
It's tough because like they don't even have annual passes for it yet. They don't have friends and family. Like employees got a really generous employee like period where they could go in during technical rehearsals, but it's not like if you have a friend who works there, you can even get. So it's going to be a while. Yeah. But what's interesting is they do have a few expansion pads, and then everyone knows that they're going to probably replace Simpsons in Universal Studios and the Jamie. What was that? No, it's terrible.
Love the Simpsons.
The Lost Continent. Disney, and so it'll be interesting if they wait. They're obviously going to let this be their big summer thing, but I wonder when they're going to make some announcements, because they keep saying we're not stopping here. But I'm like, okay, well, what is next? Because it does sound like right now this is an all-day park with just those 9 rides, 2 shows, and walking around and stuff. But if it's going to get that much attendance then and be shut down in the rain, it's going to start to be a more negative experience.
Well, as time goes on, people are going to figure out, right? Like, what are the rides worth waiting for? What are the ones not worth waiting for, right? And then some things are going to get, right now, it's kind of like everything that wasn't very obviously like a kiddie thing had a crazy long line, right? Like I said, as soon as the park opened, like everything was at like 90 minutes or something like that, right? And so that's because people are just like getting an A line to experience stuff. But once kind of word gets out and things start to like settle, they're going to get to that point where you can make your way through the park faster. And I don't think it would be a full day park at that point. Like a year from now, like it's going to be kind of like, hey, we're going to skip that, go on these 3 things, and then hop over to Islands of Adventure or whatever, At that point, they're going to have to start, like, once they've kind of made their way through the people who are going to come experience it for the first time, they're going to have something new to add. So yeah, they have a couple of expansion pads. There's some room in Islands of Adventure and stuff to add things. And I think it's cool. I think it'll be nice to see what blows up next. You know what I mean? I think they have some ideas in place, but they have some IP that's a little weird right now between Marvel and Simpsons and some of that stuff too. So
well,
I'll have to see.
I mean, everyone thinks they're going to do Zelda and Pokemon, which will go over well. And look, you need filler rides. Like, there's 7 Dumbos in Disney. I think some people make fun of that. And yeah, you don't want too many clones, but it actually helps fill and people still enjoy it. Like, you kind of need some of those things. But yeah, this one looks like it's going to be beautiful, and maybe I'll just sit by the fountains at night and bask in it. But
Cool.
yeah,
That was what I was going to say, though. Sorry, because we talked about like the IP specific areas being very cool. Celestial Park, that whole middle hub area, it is cool and it is not, but it's like it's very clear that it's not like tied to anything, and so
but
it's
that I
kind of got
think you
these
need some of
general
that. Like
move. No,
think
you
about
definitely
Disney,
do.
like Frontierland is now like Disney is IPing everything, which is fine to some degree, and if it blends in, you can still have those. But like I appreciate that to some degree that they created this original
I think
ideology.
at Disney you have kind of you have the generic like Frontierland, and then you also have things like Galaxy's Edge, and so there's like this difference. But in this park, like the only thing that's not tied to an IP is that park, so it just makes it stick out a little bit. And it's still nice. Like don't get me wrong, it still looks really cool. It's still they did a good job with it, but like there's a very real difference that you can see there. So. But overall, it was a good day. It was fun to go. It was also nice. I'd never really gone to an amusement park all by myself. And it was cool because I just did whatever the heck I wanted. I didn't have to worry about what my kids wanted to ride or whoever I was with and whether they wanted to go
Carrying
buy whatever
everything.
thing.
Doing
or
stuff.
carrying thing, pushing all the strollers. I just wandered
But
around.
next time, Steven, I do want you to go by yourself and ride the carousel all by yourself, and then I want a video of a grown man by himself
I
on the
will. I'll
carousel.
take a selfie.
Well, the carousel does it's got like 3 turntables within a big turntable, and it has a different music and different stories, and I'm sure it looks cooler at night. But yeah, you still don't quite. I mean, I would do it just to do it if I could, but it wouldn't be a priority.
Yeah.
But
If you can go, or when you guys finally go, or anybody who is listening goes, try and make sure you have time to be there at night. It gets harder over the summer because it's not actually open that late. Like the plan is for it to close by 9. And in the middle of the summer, it's not even dark yet. But the
even
lighting and
for,
stuff at night looks so freaking cool. So if you can get any of that, get that.
For opening day, which is May 22nd, is the official opening day. And that first couple weeks, it was only scheduled to be open till 9, and sunset was at 8:15, and people complained, and they did push it back to 10. But think about it, 10 p.m., it's not going to be dark till 9:15 in the middle of June, July. Staying open till midnight. I mean, a couple Disney parks will do 11, and then Magic Kingdom does 12 quite a bit. I think it's a tough ask, but if it's really popular, then we'll see. But
Disneyland stays open till midnight all the time.
Yeah, if you can
fill
fill
I think too, it's just because even if whenever sunset is, it's really another 45 minutes till it's dark. You know what I mean? So even if you get to that point where 9:15, 9:30 is sunset, even at 10 o'clock, it's not going to be fully dark, so you won't get the full effect, until people come in the fall and stuff. But it is very, very cool at night.
I'm coming in November. I'm determined.
Start saving my
you tell your
pennies
kids, be like, Mitchell can come in November, so that's when you get to go. And then you start saving your pennies. Welcome back. So what did you think of Steven's evaluation of Epic Humors? Steven, have you softened on it? How do you look back with positivity, negativity?
I've followed the news, and there have been much worse days than my day when I was there. And so in a way that makes me feel a little bit better, but it also just makes me really concerned because, like I said, it opens this week. And so I'm hoping they can get their stuff together because I'd like for it to succeed. I think it's cool, especially because I want them to keep building cool stuff and especially adding things to Harry Potter.
Just get it together before November. No, I follow a lady who she's gone 20 times, and she's like, yeah, it does vary greatly. Some days it feels like a full-fledged, the park is just operating, but the grand opening is in a couple days. It's actually closed to the public now. Grand opening in 2 days.
When this comes out, it'll be open.
Yeah, when we get around to publishing this, welcome to Epic Universe.
It might be 2027.
Well, thanks for letting us go way too far on theme parks, even though that was only supposed to be a separate bit. But thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week. Find us at HPTVPod on socials. Jamie, send us out.
Peace out, snitches.
Bye.